Okay, so we're going to have a look at how we actually install an instance of Magento. So to start off with, I'm making a couple of assumptions here, and the first assumption is that we already have the files uploaded to our server, and the second assumption is that we have a URL that is related to this particular part of the server. Okay, so we've got a website address for our Magento store that we want the installation to be on. Right, so the first thing is then we type in that website address. So I have a subdomain here that I can use, and when I load that up, it brings up the Magento Installation Wizard. Okay, so we have a license agreement that we need to agree to, and we need to agree to the terms and conditions. So obviously I've just read those to their fullest, and I agree to them. When I do that, it highlights the continue button and allows me to carry on. Okay, the next question I get asked is what the locale is of the store. So this is effectively saying what is the language that the store is going to be in. And in our case, we're choosing English United Kingdom. Okay, but you can see that there's a lot of locales that exist on there. Not all locales will have a language associated with them, and that's something that we'll cover in a video at a later point. Right, we then want to pick a time zone that our store is running from. Okay, so if I scroll through, you can see there we have many time zones. I'm in the UK, so I'm going to use GMT, and I'm going to use GMT for London. Right, so there's our time zone set. Finally, we need to set what currency we want the store to be running in, and this is what's going to be called the base currency of the store. So at the end of the day, this is the currency that people will buy the product in, and that's the currency that will go through the checkout. So again, because we're in the United Kingdom, I'm going to choose British pound sterling, but obviously you saw there that there was a lot of currencies that you could choose from. And then I hit continue. Now the next part, we need to have a few assumptions or a few things that we've made note of already. The first is that we have to have a MySQL database set up, and we need to know what the name of that database is. And we also need to know where that database is located. Now, if it's located on the same server as your store, then you can leave this as default and localhost. Otherwise, you may have to put an IP address in. You will certainly get that information from your hosting provider of what information you need to put in this box here. But localhost if it's the same server as you're actually running the store from. Then you need to know what the database name is. So there's a default database name there of Magento, but actually the database I'm using is this one, which is called shop1fct_store. Okay, and that's a database, a MySQL database that I created earlier. Right, I then need a username, and this is a username for the database, and you would have set this username up when you set up the database. The user has to have full privileges on the database, and so you put the username in there, and then you would have assigned a password to it, so you then put that password in that box there. Okay. We've got this option here, which is table prefixes. My advice is leave that blank, and then you'll get the standard table names. You can, if you're going to be running multiple things in the one MySQL database, you might want to have prefixes to make sure there's no clashes. But in most circumstances, just leave that blank. We've got the base URL of the store, and you can see that ties in with our website address. So again, we can just choose that. Now this is an interesting one here, which is the path for the admin. So once we set up this store, we are going to have a URL which allows us to access the admin panel. The default is admin, and I'm going to leave it as the default, but I would strongly urge you to change that to something other than admin. Mainly because if someone knows that you've got a Magento store, then they can guess that the URL to access the admin panel would be under admin. So if you can put something in there that is maybe easy for you to remember but not very easy for other people to guess, then I'd advise that. Okay, and other things of note here are we want to use the server rewrites or web server rewrites, and that allows us to give friendly page names, friendly URLs to certain page names on the site. And it's something that we'll cover later, particularly useful from an SEO point of view. And we've got here save session data in a file system or the database. I would advise that session data, which records details of what people are doing in their browsing sessions when they're looking at your store, I would advise you keep that in the file system. If you put it in the database, you could find that you fill up your database with a lot of information that is not necessarily useful. It might slow down your system. So keeping it in the file system at this stage is what I would advise, but you may have other reasons why you might want to do it differently. And then I hit continue. Now what happens at this stage is now Magento is attaching itself to the MySQL database, and it is creating all the tables that it needs to run a Magento store. So this process may take a few moments. Once it's done, then we're pretty much there with actually having a store that we can actually start using and creating products and categories and attribute sets and stuff that we'll be covering in different videos. Okay, so now our tables are created. The next thing we need to do is we need to create an admin login. And this login will be our default login. We can create ever logins later, but we need at least one login so we can access our admin system. So I'm just going to call this admin user. Okay, and I'm going to give an email address of, okay, so I've got an email address there, and then I give it a username. So the username I'm going to put in here is admin. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. In a real world scenario, I would again use something that is difficult to guess. Just gives that certain little bit more security on your site. So we've got a username of admin, and then I'll put a password in as well. So I need to verify that password as well. Right, you'll see here we've got an encryption key option. Very rarely used now. However, if you were rebuilding a store, you may want to use an encryption key that you had previously. As we're starting a store from scratch, we don't have an encryption key. So I'm just going to hit continue. And that's going to create our user. Now you'll see here, this is the end of the process, by the way, and you'll see here that we have down here an encryption key. You may want to make a note of that so that if down the line you do need to recreate your store, you can use that encryption key. But it's very rarely used. I see it very rarely used these days, so you may find that you don't actually need it at all, but it certainly is worth making a note of it just in case. There's a survey form here which you can choose to fill in if you want to, which goes back to Magento so they can understand a bit more about the process. And now we've got an option to go to the front end or go to the back end. I'll just choose go to front end. Okay, so this is a default installation of Magento. You can see there's not much in here other than we have a theme built around, but there's nothing much else to do here. And if I choose go to backend, you can see that takes us to the backend login, and we can now fill in our details and log into the backend. So that is essentially what you need to do to install your Magento store.